what Steve Young said about Trey Lance. I love when 49ers greats insert themselves into the decision making process. It's so good because, Kyle, what are you going to say? It's Steve Young. You're going to tell him to be quiet? No, you're just going to be like, thanks, Steve. I appreciate your perspective. Anyway, Jack, why don't you tell the people what Steve Young said?
Well, basically, what Young said was that he would go ahead and just go ahead and go with Trey Lance. If he and Jimmy Garoppolo are close, he would just go ahead and go with the younger guy because he's going to develop.
Mhm.
And and that's something that I've been saying kind of throughout is if these guys are close, and you've heard me say this to you more
Mhm.
than once, if guys are close, I don't understand why you don't just go ahead and go with Lance. You know you're going to have some ups and downs early on. That's clear. So why not just go ahead and run it and let's see, live with those and know that as the second half of the season comes around, he should be have those rough plays out of his system or most of them, and it should be, uh, you know, an upward trajectory.
Yeah, and I feel like there's people digging in on both sides on who's better and who should start. But I think everyone, if we're being honest, can agree that it's close.
Oh, it's definitely close.
And like it's close in the sense that they won't. I mean, they not that they won't let. That's charged and loaded. I'm saying Lance hasn't really run yet for whatever reason, and it's still close.
Yeah, the passing of between the two has been very similar.
Yeah,
We saw that on Saturday or
the
Sunday night,
interceptions
right?
were mirror images of each other.
Yeah, they were very similar to each
Yeah,
other, and so you can't really say, well, Lance needs to sit because he's inaccurate when Garoppolo's doing the same exact things and he's
good
done
point.
it throughout his career, and that's something that I keep hearing, and I heard that even today on the radio. So that part of it doesn't make sense to me. Um, and then when you take in the fact that Lance is going to give you more on the ground, even though Jim Garoppolo had a nice scramble on Sunday night for about 10 yards on that one, he's still not going to give you the athleticism that Lance gives you when they show everybody the full Trey Lance package.
It's gotta hurt Jimmy Garoppolo when Steve Young says the other guy should start. I know if I were Jimmy, I would be crushed. Steve, why? Oh, anyway, do you agree with Steve? You do.
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's the best route to go.
Do you think that the 49ers will take Steve Young's advice? Or not that they'll take his advice. Do you think they're thinking along the same lines here?
I don't. I don't think they are. I
Yeah.
think they're leaning towards Jimmy Garoppolo being the starter early on, or and letting him run basically until he shows that he's not winning games for him. I just don't see. I see them utilizing Trey Lance at times in games, probably every game throughout the season, but
Hmm.
not necessarily as a starter early on.
See, I think I kind of agree with you, even though I have a very nice bottle of wine riding on this with my dad. But I feel like the one thing that Steve Young isn't accounting for, and maybe we don't talk about enough, is just how many people on this team really like Jimmy Garoppolo and seem to want him to start. And uh, maybe if you just bench Jimmy Garoppolo before the season even starts, that's not a popular move with a big part of the offense. Kittle, Juszczyk, McGlinchey, who I don't know, those three.
Yeah, yeah, I think you're right. I think there definitely is a piece of that. That's one of the reasons why throughout I kept saying they need to move on from Garoppolo before they get to the season
To
before they
this,
get. Yeah, because
yeah,
that's where they are. They've got a good number of guys in that locker room that really believe in him. Until he just proves otherwise, that's gonna be an issue. Uh,
right. It's one thing to throw picks in camp. It's one thing to throw picks in preseason, but maybe these vets feel like you shouldn't lose your job until you really give it away in the regular season. And this guy still has a winning record.
Yeah, that's it. They believe in him. They've won a lot of games with him, and that's the hard part with Garoppolo is that you can see all of his warts, but for whatever reason, most of the time when he's in, he doesn't matter. He throws interception a game, but he's still winning all the time. That's the problem.
Yeah.
He's really frustrating because he has so many ups and downs, but he just continues to win.
Well,
And I
the
know those
problem
numbers
with
pick
with
up that.
Jimmy though is that I want to say his last 9 starts, he's 5-4 with the TD to INT ratio that's about 1-1, and that's a small sample, but it's carrying over to camp and preseason. And my concern, I think the Niners' concern, and why they're giving Trey Lance, why they've changed the narrative a little bit, and why they've given Trey Lance more reps now, is I think because they're really concerned about Jimmy. That even if they do start him week 1, he may bench himself rather quickly.
Yeah, the only thing with that is that they haven't really played him with the ones enough. I think we haven't seen him really go out there with the starters and really do well. That's the
And
one thing
yeah,
for me that kind of holds me back from saying that he
who would
definitely
Lance?
should start. Yes.
Oh,
He's,
absolutely. I'm with you with that. Yeah,
yeah, he
yeah.
hasn't gotten enough reps with them, and when he has played with the ones, he hasn't shown well enough
Mm-mm.
to really take the job away yet. All of his he's
I'm
played
with you.
really well, but it's all been against the backups.
Yeah, what I'm saying is that Jimmy's sort of giving it away, and that Lance is like, I don't really know if I'm ready to take it right now. It's a very interesting position the Niners are in.
Yes, that's a good way
Yeah.
of putting it.
But I mean, I think something should be settled on Sunday. I mean, ideally for the 49ers, one of these guys takes it. It's kind of like that part in the wrestling cage match where there's a ladder in the ring and the belt is on top, and just like someone needs to get up long enough and climb up the ladder and take it. But they're both kind of like woozy on the ground right now.
every every time somebody
Yeah.
gets to the top, they like slip off, right?
Exactly. That's where they're at. Someone needs to go grab that belt. It's there's no one there. Anyway, Raymond
Yeah.
Martinez Jr. What's up, Raymond? Says, don't forget Joe said it first. He's still ahead of Steve. Yeah. Steve and Joe have been on the start the rookie for a long time. Must be tough to beat Jimmy, man. I mean, it's not just that the head coach doesn't believe in you. It's Joe and Steve too. God, go get him, buddy.
Yeah,
Hey,
I like Raymond's comment. I keep telling everybody that Montana's the greatest, and Raymond, he just kind of said that again.
absolutely. Ninerbot says Steve Young has never been fan of Jittery. I mean, God, Steve Young must look at Jimmy. I can't speak for Steve, but just think, boy, I was better than you. I could do more than you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely. I mean,
Yeah.
because Garoppolo, he's just a funny guy with the way that he never really looks settled in the pocket. He never really throws with his legs, and
Yeah.
doesn't he's just always been the same guy.
Yeah, I have to say so. Niner by Nature 88 says, is Jimmy turning into 2019 Carson Wentz? I don't know. Carson Wentz lost a lot of confidence, but I also thought he looked really good in that game when he beat the Niners. I was so impressed. Anytime he got out of the pocket, I don't know. That's an interesting comparison. Let's ask this: who do you think is going to have a better career from here on out, Jimmy or Carson Wentz?
I'd say probably Carson Wentz. I think Carson
I think
Wentz is
so
in a
too.
better situation in Indianapolis with the coaching staff there. I think he's going to continue on as a starter, whereas I think Garoppolo, once his time in San Francisco is done, is going to become mostly a backup around the league.
I agree with that. I mean, he may have stretches where he, is backing up a young guy who's blowing it, and he gets to play, and maybe he played kind of the Ryan Fitzpatrick experience for his career. I think it's going to be a little bit of starting here, but he's going to bounce around the league. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. One thing that struck me last night watching that Monday Night Football game is it really showed how bad the 49ers room has been for the last 3 years
Mm,
when CJ Beathard is the third string quarterback for Jacksonville
hmm.
and Nick Mullins is the third string quarterback in Philadelphia.
Good point.
That just shows how bad that room really was.
Yeah, the Niners had essentially a backup quarterback starting and two third stringers backing him up. Sorry, that's a little harsh, but that's what we're dealing
It's,
with. I think. I think.
yes.
And that's honestly that was the fear when the Niners traded for Jimmy, because that's what all the New England Patriot quarterbacks have become. I mean, not Tom Brady, but all the Tom Brady 2.0s have
Yes.
turned out this exact way. Matt Castle
Yeah.
was another one.
Yeah. Well, Garoppolo had the most success out of them, but
No
you're right.
question.
They were all short. None of them really panned out after they
Short
left.
lived, and they kind of had the same fate.